I hit his helmet in walkthrough, and so we called him all up, and he's over there just throwing the buckets around looking for it. And then he knows I did it, so he picks it up, charges me, and acts like he's like about to just punt me, and he hits my knee, and then he practices, and at the end of practice, like I think I broke my foot on this dickhead over here, and so he goes and gets an MRI. He doesn't go to meetings. He goes has to get an MRI. But I remember when he kicked me. Chip didn't really see him, and Stout didn't really see him. I think Chip goes, "What the fuck was that about?" Stout goes, "I don't know."
I don't know where to start, man. This is great. This is like, honestly, this is like being on FaceTime. That's all this is. It's just FaceTime with better technology. This is the guy that I call when I just want to shoot the shit. This is my good friend Lane Johnson, and look at that shirt, man. That's a thing of beauty. What's on your shirt, Lane?
They passed out in the locker room whether they green fellas, referring to, I guess, some boys is getting paid.
The green fellas.
Green fellas.
Now, who passed those out, Lane? Was that did
I don't even
upstairs
know.
or did Jason Kelce?
Probably not upstairs.
I don't know. I don't know if Jalen had them made, but you'll just find random shirts in your locker, and you'll be like, all right, well.
I enjoy that.
Can I get a 2X, bro?
Yeah, I'll get you a 2X. You remember how JP used to just go in there and pass out like his own shirts?
Yeah.
Hey, you never know.
The bodyguard line of clothing. Yeah. Hey, by the way, I haven't seen anybody. I was talking about this when Linval Joseph signed last week, and the Eagles put his video up of him walking into the building. I was like, holy shit, I haven't seen somebody command a hallway like that since Jason Peters, bro. How big is that guy in person, and like, what's it been like seeing him the first week out there on the field?
Yeah, I mean, he's just like a 55-gallon drum just with arms, so just taking up a hallway. I mean, he does, like with the visor. I wish JP could walk out dressed how he was, and them two just face to face, have a face off, like identical. But no, it was like as soon as he got there, like he came in, practiced, and I mean, he was hitting it pretty hard from the start. I remember, like, even this week, and, like, you know how mock game is.
Yeah.
I mean, people just, like, staying in their lanes. These guys were, so making the scout team guys work hard. So, yeah, man, he played well, and then Sue played well. Those are just, like, two freakily built guys that they're gonna command attention.
And they're totally different guys. I played both those dudes, Lane.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure you see it in practice and stuff, but Sue would line up at that cocked pass rush stance and just try to blow up your clavicle. And Linval's just like, I don't care how many humans you send at me, I'm going to hold my ground. Is that kind of what you're seeing in practice too?
Yeah. It's like Linval, like sometimes the center will come in and have like good position underneath, but like he'll like grab like the back of their shoulder pads and just pull them forward and just kind of like march his way back there. And then Sue's so good with like that long arm, and then the club. He's a beast.
And he works it in practice too, or is he as violent in practice as we see on Sundays?
I don't know. I've only seen like a walkthrough, and then like the other ones, pregame, and he was pretty violent in most.
How nice is it though for your O-line not to have to deal with? Now you guys did have to deal with Jordan Davis in training camp, but like not have to like have Linval Joseph show up the first week of August. Not having Ndamukong show up the first fucking week of August.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't need to be in that teeter table as much. just lengthening your spine out, having those two. Jordan's so big, bro, and like he's just like a baby. Like I can't imagine what he's going to be. Like I'm glad I'm going to be out whenever he's like reaching his peak. He's just that big and strong. That's what Linval and Sue were talking about the other day. Just like what he's going to be. So yeah, man, it's. One thing about that life, that's for all the centers and guards that played. I don't live in that life much. It's two totally different games.
It's a different world in there.
Yeah, and I saw right away.
And you can't give up any ground, and that's so hard when these guys are at different angles, and especially
I'm glad you brought that up, Lane, because so many football fans think, we grew up thinking blindside tackle, right or left now is pretty much the same, but a lot of these offenses are built with the integrity of the interior of the pocket in mind, right? Like the dish. We talk about the dish. So talk about that, Lane.
Yeah, I mean, a quarterback can adjust to outside pressure by stepping up in the pocket, but just what I said, stepping up in the pocket. So I think being firm in the middle and keeping that. So whether you're under center, especially under center, I mean, you don't have any leeway to give up any ground if the quarterback's throwing a quick slant or anything down the field, they're going to be right in their face. So at guard, you have to be sturdy. And really what the defense is trying to do is create space amongst the whole setup, as much space as they can, and then penetrate and fucking tee off. So Chris knew all, but like,
do you find a big difference, Lane, in the groups that you prepare for? I mean, there's obviously talent, but then there's groups that rush together. You know how there's some groups that just don't rush together. It's like just 4 independent contractors.
Yes, yeah.
What is the biggest difference there?
I mean, when you have independent contractors, the main thing is that the set lines of like the guard and tackle are very similar. Like you can't have a guard setting too firm at the line and a tackle just setting really far back. There has to be some level of ground gain where you have rooms to operate, especially for all the games.
Yeah.
So, like, there's some teams you can jump set and the ball's out quick and you can get away with, like, a stunt. But if you're dropping back and, like, our coach doesn't like a whole lot of width, like space between the guard and the tackle, because a lot like what the Patriots ran, like a late U stunt, and that guy's like already flush with the quarterback, so all he has to do is make a right-hand turn and he's in his lap. So it's like – and it's hard to stop, especially the more width they get. Like the guard has to set with width, and the tackle. I mean, it's really like a chess game.
That's one thing I've always tried to emphasize to young players, guards, and particularly tackles, especially the tackles you're fucking lining up with at practice or in games, is more width doesn't. It's not good. Like I know you see all these guys taking these cool pass sets on TikTok, and they all want to be Lane Johnson, but the best thing to do is not string out the protection and not get a bunch of width, to your point.
No, and I mean, I feel like key factors, which, like I said, it's easy to say, but it's hard to do, is just maintaining squareness. And, like, even the hinge point of where, like, you're hinging is a big deal. Like, if you set shallow and you're getting beat at 1.5 yards versus, or 2.5 yards versus 4.5, that's a lot wider hump for, the defender having to run. So it's just – for us, I feel like it's all about setting lines and angles, and then the D-line, they have independent contractors, and then mix them up with a game every now and then. So, like, I know going into a game, the main thing I'm looking for is the stunts. That's, like, really very high on my list. Other than that, it's like some guys are going to give away moves, like, say, if it's a spin. Like, a lot of the good guys won't, like, show, like, that cross-chop arm and then spin inside. Some guys will just kind of, like, ghost it. But, yeah, it's 2 total different games. You got 7-on-7, and then you have just, the guys in the middle just boxing each other pretty much.
Hey, Parsons does that spin where he'll run right up and give you a kiss and fucking spin, dude. It's not like there's
he's so quick. Like, he reminds me of Vaughn just with his twitch. Mm-hmm. And now he's starting to figure out, like, the hand usage, because he was just new to the position. He's got a lot of burst, man. If you can set up everything with speed, like even Vaughn isn't the biggest guy. He's like 250, but he sets it up with so much speed that he can get somebody like so far back on their heels and just make them look silly.
Just with one finger, it's all timing.
And you were talking about when it opens.
Already off.
That's the same
Tree's
thing as
already
opening.
Over. Yeah.
When you open up early, Lane, I feel like it does put you in a position to be a one-hand bull rush receiver. Like when you get to your point, you were saying stay square, and I think that's a huge thing is staying square, because you as a rusher probably, Chris, are thinking, oh, he's giving me something, or I can take this because he's open here.
Yep.
If you get a guy like Vaughn and you're in panic mode on the speed, you open up, and then he can press your button with 1 foot in the ground.
Right, because all your weight's on your upfield foot.
Oh, yeah.
Naturally, because you're running up the field. And I never really got people moving like that. That's got to be an amazing feeling to be able to just put and a lot of being a bull rusher is timing, though. Like that was my game late in my career, and I wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but there's still opportunities for timing, even if you're not fast.
Yeah, if you could burst up the field for 5 yards, and then once you see that tackle starting to turn, like you would hook guys right there in the inside shoulder, pry them open.
Yep.
That's where you're weak at.
Yep. No question. Hey, this weekend was fun, man. It was fun to watch. I know it wasn't fun for 3 quarters, but I think, I loved what Jalen said a couple weeks ago at the podium talking about, hey, we've been leaving money on the table. We've been repeat offenders here. Because it showed leadership, and going into that game where you knew it was going to be tough, you guys made some mistakes a little bit early. I mean, I look up in your 1st and 35, like crazy shit is happening, uncharacteristic shit is happening. But the way you guys pulled together at the end of that ball game, I feel like that's worth going through the bullshit for a couple weeks. It's worth like making those mistakes right now for the experience of getting it right, especially on the road. And I kind of wonder how you look at that game now that's in the rearview mirror.
I mean, well, it's all learning. Like you look at last year, how we started off like 2-6, just in a really shitty position. So just really fighting and scratching to really find. I feel like we were a much better second half team, but it took a while to find kind of what was our formula. And then with Jalen just having, like, every great quarterback has great receivers. Like every one of them has had great weapons to throw to. But just having, with Dallas, I feel like he was, having an all-pro year, really, with what he was doing. Having AJ, having those guys to spread the field out and then run the football to complement it. I just feel like, we're dangerous in those aspects. But just like I feel like this past week was very, like, uncharacteristic, kind of like what happened the week before. So just little stuff, shooting yourselves in the foot and really making the game harder than what it needs to be. But to me, I feel like the defense won that game for us. Whenever they needed stops, I feel like they played a hell of a game. And just those guys coming in, helping, like the rotation, they don't understand how much of a like if you have like solid guys playing and then you just have that rotation to where there is no drop off. That's the hardest teams to go up to. They just have Arsenal because usually like the ace, the first stringer and the second stringer, there is a big difference.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, no, and there isn't. I mean, like you bring in Robert Quinn, you bring in Linval, you bring in Sue, you've got Josh Sweat, you have Brandon Graham, you have Hassan Reddick, who Reddick has made so many like big plays in big moments this year. I was down at the Jacksonville game. Like when you needed a rush there, he made it happen. Fast forward to this Sunday, 3rd and 5 down in the red zone. Like that's an enormous down because that game's out of reach if they get in the end zone. And I just feel like he's showed up a great deal. Can you talk about what Hassan Reddick brings to the table and like you get to practice against him a little bit, and what do you see out on the field?
Yeah, man, he's super quick. He's probably 6'2", 250.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he moves. He has that, that twitch to him, but he has a really good, obviously going up the field and then like his jab out move, like the fake in, jab out and dipping. That's where he's got most of his sacks. And he keeps that up and then occasionally hits him with a game. He's crafty and he's super athletic. I mean, he can bend. He's got those traits. But, him and then having Sweat. I mean, you see what Sweat's doing, going up the field, then getting the tackle to overset and just burst inside so quickly. He's dudes are creating a lot of pressure.
And Sweat's not got huge numbers this year, but Sweat jumps off the tape every time I watch him.
Just look at like the disruption chart. That's like even BG. Like I feel like in his years, didn't get the credit he deserved because the sack numbers weren't there. But you go to like pressures and all that, he was nearly close to the top for years.
Yeah, what do you make of metrics like that when you're looking at a pass rusher? Obviously, you think something of it, but there's some people that say like, hey, if you're not getting home, it doesn't matter. I disagree. I mean, partially because.
I think it all boils down to how much attention are they getting? Like, are they getting chipped a lot? Are they trying to get stopped? Because at the end of the day, that's the coordinator spending time saying, hey, we got to account for this guy. So I think that's the biggest, nod to a player.
Yeah.
Like, look at Aaron Donald, always double teamed. He's not going to have a play where two people aren't accounting for him. And probably, Myles Garrett, there's just certain players like that command that.
What makes Chris Jones really tough? Because there's a lot of chatter about him maybe taking the crown as the best interior defensive lineman. I saw Schwartz and Joe Thomas talking about it this week, and I'm not really into hey, this guy's better than that guy because they're so different, him and Aaron.
So different.
But what is it when you're lined up with Chris Jones in a wide three?
He kind of reminds me of Fletch, but maybe longer. Having longer, longer arms, maybe a little bit taller. But pretty similar just to their style of play. He's a big dude, man. He's athletic.
I'll say this about Chris Jones, Lane. He's a guy that sets up his power with his speed, and he's twitchier than he is. He's twitchier than he looks, and he's faster than he looks, and he's quicker. His get off is incredible. His ability to turn
Get off is everything.
his ability to turn his upper body sideways to minimize surface area for an offensive lineman, and then simultaneously keep his hips square and be advancing into your enemy territory. That's what Chris Jones does really well to me. And Fletcher is just a fucking bull. He's a bully.
Yeah.
He's gonna make it a fist fight. If he thinks he can edge you, he's gonna edge you. But if he thinks it's gonna benefit him to get in your chest, he will. Chris Jones wants to attack edges. That's where he makes his hay. People see this big, long guy and they think it's power, but it's speed.
And he's running,
setting up his wins.
He's standing straight up. Like,
and he's a great tackler on the run.
You know, Chris Jones opts out of that stupid fucking drill where we try to get under the red thing, you know, in D-line individual where they're like, keep your pads down. And
he might jump over it.
He's like, fuck this shit. I'll do it just the way I'm doing it.
Yeah, Fletch is always like his get off is tremendous, but he would either long arm you, and then once you do that, he would hump the shit out of you and go and club you inside.
Yep.
But really, just the first 3 steps are up the field and pretty violent.
Who's the guy this year that you played that you were surprised at how good they were? I mean, you've only given up 7 pressures on the year. I feel like every time you're on here and every time I get a chance to talk about you, I don't think people realize how dominant you've been. So I'm not saying guys are beating you, but you can definitely feel who's got juice. Who's somebody who surprised you?
I mean, nobody really. I mean, going into Minnesota, you got Za'Darius and you got Daniil Hunter. So those guys, like I played against those guys before, I already knew what was coming. But really, just the Cowboys with DeMarcus and Micah. Dude, Micah's fast. He's got that Von Miller type speed. The way I see him, he's like a little bobcat, bro. He's not overly long. He's just gonna either dip around you so low to where you're not going to touch him, and then once you get to leaning too much, he'll spin inside. But he all sets it up with just what do you run, a 4.3, 4.3, 4.4?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's alien stuff.
Just a little bit faster than you, Lane.
So how big?
honestly.
Yeah, just a little bit. Hey, Lane, how big is he on the field? Like, is he bigger than you think? Kind of because know there's certain guys you see on TV and then you walk by him. Chris Jones was one.
He's a big dude. Yeah, I mean Mike is probably 6'1",
He's bigger
6'2".
than you think.
He's not. Yeah, he's bigger than you think.
Yeah. The Trent Williams stance thing. Did you see this thing on the internet? Everybody talking about, Trent Williams is giving away. What do you think about that whole thing?
Hey, they're not doing a whole lot to stop him. I just think he kind of does what the hell he wants. And but no, I mean, but when you look at every tackle, there is a slight adjustment, like with either the width of it, like you try to conceal it as much as you can, but a lot of times it's not exactly the same. But I mean, as far as like tendencies, yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be more aware of it, but maybe a little bit wider in the run game than it is pass. But I feel like even for us, like we have a guy that analyzes us, and so like usually my stance is off by like they say like a foot. So we have a guy that charts Jordan and I. So I mean it's kind of similar, but yeah, I mean I remember when we were playing the Patriots here in preseason a couple of years ago, and I realized that I was tipping off my stance, and then once I figured it out, you can use it to your advantage. So like I remember we were playing the Giants a couple of years ago, and I think Connor was reading off my stance, and so we were running outside zones to the right, and so I just got in a pass stance and just kicked off the line, and he just ran himself out of the play, which is like a pussy way of doing it, but it's like a, hey, the guy's getting out of the way himself.
You draw set at him. You draw set at him on outside zone. I love that shit.
Yeah.
So it's either going to go really good or really bad for you, but.
God, I love that.
Really good or really bad. You could say it was an ME. So a couple weeks ago, this does not surprise me, but you were pretty forthright about, you were like, hey, I'm going to do this one. Maybe I'll do 2 more. Like, how much of an exact science is that in your head? Like, like how much longer you want to play? Is that just a kind of a, hey, we'll see what happens, but this is what I'm thinking? Or do you have like goals where you want to be out by a certain time? And what do you want to do by the time you get out?
Yeah, I want to, I said 2 years. I mean, a lot of it's just my kids are getting older and just my parents are getting older, and you realize that, through a lot of your years, you're not around your friends and family as much as you'd like, so now you get an opportunity to do it. So it's like you're living your best life now. Brandon Brooks is living his best life. They'll just send us pictures, and it's like, I'm looking like I'm living through y'all, because for so many years, I don't know, you put your identity in the game, and I think getting out of it is. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm saying 2
Bro,
more
but
years.
I'm not doing anything special. Whenever you see me, I'm on my porch. You're like, man, that looks fucking sick.
Yeah, but you're not on somebody else's porch.
You're right. You're right.
Hey, you're not out there on that turf, son, bitching about how you're
That slip film.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You're not worried about your fucking sacrum hurting.
Yeah, my sacrum. How do you remember that? My sacrum was always sideways.
Because I remember how you were walking. That's how you developed your dance. You were walking around the house like that, kind of stiff.
Yeah, because it was hard at the end, man. But yeah, you will miss some shit, though. I mean, I if I had any advice, we talk about this all the time. You know, I wouldn't make too many plans. I would just take it 1 year.
I miss it every day.
Kyle misses it every day.
I miss football every
Hey,
single
you miss
day.
bullshitting with the guys. That's what it is.
I miss bullshitting with the guys the most, obviously, and being around guys like yourself. And there weren't many like you that I got to be around, but I miss playing the game. I really do miss playing the game, you know, and that's something that doesn't get talked about, playing, you know. I miss practice. I miss a Friday practice and getting a good lather. I miss a mock game with some good laughs.
Yeah, see, I don't miss any of that shit. I just miss competing.
Yeah, see, I hated competing.
I miss having to compete.
I just want to be buddies with everybody.
Just want to be friends.
And fuck them up.
But, you know, you watch games on Sunday, like you guys, there's no way to replicate that competitive juice that you guys got going on out there. There's just nothing out here laying on this side of the Zoom that's going to.
Yes.
There's nothing, dude.
I think I need to go and get out more and travel more. That's what
I'm going to Italy for the first time. Never been to Europe.
You know, boat sail around a little bit. Go to just travel.
You been to Europe other than on Goodell's dime?
No.
I'm going for the first time, dude. I'm excited.
We don't talk about that London trip.
Hey, we ignored everything science-based and got down to sports science as soon as we landed.
Another one that came up this week was the snow game in Buffalo, and the last time there was a big-ass snow game, I feel like everybody remembers, is 2013, and it was Detroit and the Eagles, and I can remember watching in the locker room, having no idea that I get to know everybody on the TV so well, and now I can ask you, how the fuck was that game, Lane? And do you like playing in snow? Like when you saw this blizzard forming up in Buffalo, were you like, yeah, those guys should play or not?
I was like, yeah, they should play. And then I saw, if they could get all the snow out there, but like people are going to have to get some Huskies and fucking sled dogs to get down there. No way you're driving. But I feel like there would be people that walk. There's plenty of people close that would walk to that damn game. But I don't know how you keep it out. So whenever we played, I remember going out in warm-ups, and it wasn't too bad. And then we went in, probably 20 minutes, and the pregame speech, and we walked out, and it was just like a foot and a half. We're going like, what the hell? And all I remember is like I didn't have any studs. I wore like regular studs, and everybody was still slipping in. And LaShawn went in that halftime, dude. He came out with like some damn 1.5-inch studs, and that's the reason why he was doing so good, because everybody else was slipping.
So he had basically like the screw ins, which
the snow tires
and
on.
DBs and like skill guys usually don't.
It was that slick, like it was ridiculous. It was so fun though. It was like you were outside with your buddies bullshitting, because all of it was off. You were moving the ground around you just to get footing. Cool.
And sometimes the non-snow games always hurt my body more in terms of like feeling cold than when it's snowing. At least you got something
Softens
to fucking look
things
at.
up. But also softens the ground up a little bit, I feel like. Unless that ground's frozen underneath it. And I kind of wonder, as a tackle, are you looking – yeah, I'm thinking about week 17, our Super Bowl year. You remember that week? We talk about it often here. We played the Cowboys. Remember how cold it was? That fucking field was so hard. But, like, if it's pouring down rain – and you're in the hotel the night before a game, the surface is going to be wet. Okay, say like the Jacksonville game this year.
Yeah.
Are you looking at that as a positive or a negative the night before game?
Like a positive for me, because they say that's lineman weather. Oh, we're going to run the ball more, which means less stress from a pass rush. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, I really didn't mind it. You get home, but I was like, I think it does soften up the field a lot. I think it does.
Yeah.
But no, I don't. Yeah. I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
Nick Sirianni, man, can you talk about his leadership and kind of what he brings to the table? I people were all on him about the press conference. Obviously, that's ancient history. I've never seen a guy who seems to command a room full of like alphas. I mean, because there's a lot of alphas on that Eagles team. So well, so quickly. I felt like as soon as I was texting y'all last year, people were like, he's that dude. We rock with him and we will follow him. What is it about him?
I think he's just being himself. I think he's a great communicator. One thing that I like that he does is, like, after every practice, like, for every play, you have, like, who fucked up on the play. So, and even if the coaches fuck up, they'll put their names on there. So we've been doing that. And at first you're like, fuck, this is getting old. But after a while, I mean, I think it does make the team better. But most importantly, it goes down to communication, like, with everybody. So, like, he'll say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about – so I feel like you have a lot more influence than maybe, the old team council did,
Leadership council?
Leadership council, sorry.
Yeah,
not the beta club, the gifted and talented.
Yeah. Well, why the fuck was I up there for a couple of those weeks?
Because you were a savvy leader, son.
Yeah, savvy. What Nick Sirianni, would you say 6'3" or 6'4"?
He's probably 6'2".
I thought he was like my height almost, dude. He really was. When I met him, I was shocked. We were looking eye to eye. He was taller than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably, I don't know. I'll go make you measure in tomorrow. I think he's 6'2", 6'3".
He brought all 6'2", 6'3" up to the front row of the Colts fans, didn't he? What was he?
Hey, he might have been 7'6" when he was walking up there. I didn't see that till a few minutes ago. I knew he liked Frank, but he didn't really talk about any of that in the meetings. But hey,
he loved Frank.
Evidently, he loved Frank.
Hey, I love Frank. Hey, apparently he loved him maybe even more.
What? Tell us about Frank, because people talk about Frank when Frank got hired. I want to give him his flowers after he gets fired too. Like, let's talk about Frank and how great a coach he was in Philly. And do you think you'll see him coaching again at a high level as a head coach or something?
Yeah, he kind of has like that demeanor of like a Liam Neeson demeanor, like with kind of his looks and how he talks. But like he doesn't use any profanity, and I don't know. You just have respect for him when he talks about, he was a known backup quarterback, known for doing well, working hard. But I don't know, just I guess his style is what I liked about it. He's really big on the linemen, giving them attaboys, that type of stuff. So I don't know. Where Stout, you go in there and it's just machine guns flying. Letting them fly. Yeah,
Stout. How does Stout get on y'all after a game like last game where you guys did a pretty good job? Like, and there's nothing to I know there's always something to rip someone's ass about.
Yeah, no, he probably goes harder just because he feels like if you give anybody any sugar, well, now you're going to get big-headed and you're going to get lazy, that type of mentality. So just really a lot of screaming. I mean, sometimes it'll be at the older guys, not that much, but it's just always constant. I mean, you used to hear him walking through the halls.
I'd hear him through the fucking wall.
Yeah, through the walls. And a lot of times he'll coach the older player through a younger player,
Right.
Oh, so and that's tough to watch when you're sitting there not getting coached, but it is about you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching Buddy that's like been there 3 weeks, and he's like, this is how we fucking do it here. Mm-hmm. We say it every day.
Yep.
And you're just wearing it through the guy.
Yeah, and Stout, is one of the best coaches in the game for people listening that don't know. I mean, if not, he's probably the best O-line coach in the game. And just a fucking fun guy to be around. Like, he's kind of prickly, but he's a really sweet, down-to-earth person at the same time. And if you can catch him in the lunchroom, it's a great conversation. But if you see him on the field, he might just mumble at you.
He's funny. He's like Robert De Niro meet the parents, like just stern at first. And then once he opens up. And then Panunzio is Joe Pesci. That's what they look like walking around the building.
I bet you would, Panama Red.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, Lane. I got to play with Creed Humphrey last year, and an absolute beast as a rookie. Quiet, he always had the Chick-fil-A on time. He never bitched about rookie duties, and he went out and he manhandled people. What have you seen from Creed Humphrey in the last 2 years, and what do you know about him? You know him at all?
Yeah, I mean we trained together a few times, but he's there in Oklahoma City, so I see him all the time. Man, I think he was like, I don't know if he's a state champion wrestler, but I think he might have been a state champion in Oklahoma when he wrestled. So I think a lot of that background translates. Like you remember Logan Mankins, I think the guard for the Patriots all those years. So yeah, he's just really strong and he has really good feet. So and I think he has pretty long arms for a center. So he's got a lot of power. And then I think his initial quickness changed the direction. He's pretty athletic. He's very athletic, but he's a guy that's, I think he's going to be, probably a future Hall of Famer if he doesn't get hurt. Yeah, he has that type of potential, I think.
Speaking of future Hall of Famers that play center, can we talk? Just sometimes I'll just call and be like, "How's Kelce doing?" Just talk to me about Kelce. Just tell me what's going on with Kelce this week. I feel like he's the most interesting man in the world now. He's got a podcast. He's throwing out first pitches. Yeah, he's so funny. And like the stories I hear about like him in meetings and like just what's Kelce's mood like this week and what's the last funny thing that Kelce did?
The temperature gauge. So fuming, he's not fuming. He's probably he's probably like this. There'll be sometimes like he'll be good all week joking around, and then there'll be something wrong with the game plan he doesn't like, and then he'll just, that is so stupid, and just sit there. And he has a deal where he'll sit back if he gets mad. He'll just kind of
just biting his
lip. Once I see this start moving like a ventriloquist puppet. Not a good day, bro.
You remember he kicked the trash can? We talk about that on this podcast sometimes. Remember he attacked the trash can in the indoor?
He kicked me. That trash can. I hit his helmet in walkthrough, and so we called him all up, and he's over there just throwing the buckets around looking for it. And then he knows I did it, so he picks it up, charges me, and acts like he's like about to just punt me, and he hits my knee. And then he practices, and at the end of practice, like I think I broke my foot on this dickhead over here. And so he goes and gets an MRI. He doesn't go to meetings. He goes has to get an MRI. But I remember when he kicked me, Chip didn't really see him, and Stout didn't really see him. I think Chip goes, "What the fuck was that about?" Stout goes, I don't know. And then, hey, I remember we were doing the practice in the stadium. This shit is fun, dude. We're doing the practice in the stadium, and like we never do the bag drills. We're just shuffling like the D linemen do. And I don't know if he tripped and fell over one, but he got it and kicked that bitch up into the stands. They were passing it around like a beach ball.
He just gets angry, dude.
He just he's the sweetest person on the planet, but he also has the shortest fuse.
Lord of the Rings had a character named Gimli. That's him.
Huh? He turns into
Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
Gimli and Hagrid, like a mixture.
Yeah. Yes.
Like Hagrid walking around there. But no, he's just one of those guys. He like cares. So, like there's people that care a lot about this game. Then there's guys that are just like, whoa, he cares more than me. He cares more than everybody. Yeah. He loves football. But no, he's a fun ass. We have fun back there in the back row. Isaac's like super smart and won't talk, but when he does say something, it'll be something pretty funny. Landon's back there with about 5 Zins in his mouth. Jordan Mailata's up there.
What flavor Zin is Landon?
I don't know. He's got a green can. He's got a couple of blue ones. He's Zinning.
And mint.
I thought he would have been like a straight guy,
Winter green and mint green.
Yeah.
Mailata's sitting there with 5X shorts on, but they look like they're larges on him. He's just that
so big, bro.
Dude, I'll just look. I'll be in my chair and I'll just like do this over here and look at this dude. I'm like, this fucking dude is he's from the Jurassic period.
He's huge. I'll never forget seeing on SportsCenter that we signed this guy. I just come out of the woods. I was camping. I was eating at a diner. I was all hungover. And I was getting ready to come back to OTAs. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Do I have to set an edge on this motherfucker?
He's big, bro. He's like 375, lean,
And he's gotten better, bro. Yeah. I remember before I left, I remember how good he was getting. And now, like, he signs this big deal. He's up there as one of the better tackles in the league right now.
Yeah, he's got really good quickness for somebody that size. So when he gets off the ball and gets to a certain, like, gets set into a spot, no, I don't think nobody's going to beat him. Especially, dude, he's just different. Like, if you're around somebody that big, he just, like, his legs are like the size of fucking trash cans.
Yeah, dude's huge.
Like,
As is Landon Dickerson. That kid's a monster.
Those dudes are built different.
Vita Vea was on the show last week, and just marvel at how big that cat is. Talk about your quarterback, man. Obviously, he's making all the plays on the field, but I do feel like, from a leadership standpoint, this guy is light years ahead of any young quarterback that I've seen in recent memory. What's his style of leadership day to day in the building? And, what's he all about? And, why do people listen when he speaks?
He's quiet most of the time. He works hard. And when we break it down at the end of practice, he says some stuff with some substance in it and, really kind of put you on the right track, whereas some guys will bullshit and break it up. He's always serious with that. And then I think just really how he handles himself. I mean, he works. And I bullshit with him and say you're like Ivory Christian from Friday Night Lights, Preacher Man. That's kind of his demeanor. And then he'll smile a little bit after we win and say good job, and then on to the next. But really just works hard and playing good. But really, I like people that. I mean, he's kind of quiet. I like that.
One thing I appreciate.
I'll try to work on shutting the fuck up then.
One thing I appreciate about Jalen is how fucking jacked he is. And he's not just jacked like genetic. He works his ass off in the offseason. I know you guys are buddies and you spend a lot of time together off the field in a training capacity. Give me a look into what that's like, training with your quarterback, and he wants to train with a Hall of Fame tackle, you know?
He used to power lift, so I think he was like squatting 500 in like high school. He's like super big, super strong lower body. But now all the quarterbacks, like he's strong upper body, but all the quarterbacks now are doing like the Tom House. They're worried about, you see all the different drills they do pre-game, doing all this. So a lot of what his stuff is core. He likes the front squat. He likes the back squat. He likes to do trap bar deadlifts. And then all that other shit is football, just the Tom House stuff, the rotational core.
Is it good to have a quarterback that wants to train with O linemen? It's really
fucking good in the red zone. Look at this guy in the fucking red zone. I wouldn't want to tackle him in the red zone. You guys gave him the ball 7 times in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think just how that strength helps, especially late in the season. He's a load to bring down. He's 225. But yeah, man, he's strong ass legs. I mean, he can squat with the lineman, probably heavier if he wanted to, but I feel like he's at a point where it doesn't. You have like diminishing returns. You start going too heavy.
Yeah.
Chris believes in not squatting.
Well, I had no choice. My back,
my sacrum.
Not everybody was,
Not everybody was born with that.
Touched by the gods
and good posture,
like Zeus.
Yeah,
Zeus is over there. I get videos from Zeus here.
Hey, speaking of squat, Kyle, that video you sent me of Kyle, like front squatting 405, like it was fucking 135. Hey, that's that kind of.
Exactly, bro. I can't front squat 225 without my back going
out.
My
sacrum just fucking locking up.
Oh my god, dude. You know what? I think my sacrum's locking up just sitting here talking to you two fucking behemoths. Lane Johnson, man, good luck to the almighty Eagles, number 1 in the NFC East. I can't wait for this week. I can't wait for Christmas. That's going to be a showdown.
Pave the lane, bro.
Pave the fucking lane, man. Pave the lane. Thanks for the time, Lane.
Thank y'all, boys. Y'all take it easy. Yeah, we got the Packers and Tennessee, so two good teams. Hopefully,
you going to get you some ayahuasca?
Hey, I'm going to ask him for the hookup after the game.
Okay. Take care, bro.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Lane.